My name is Dhiraj Nainani, and I'm from Singapore. At the moment, I'm working as a postdoctoral fellow at the Asia Research Institute at the National University of Singapore. And my research focuses on the intersection of law and geography. So really understanding how the law can not just be understood as this abstract thing, but how is it mapped? How is it, how does it respond to different spaces throughout the world? Thus far, I've worked a lot on urban cities, and now, as part of my research, I'm working on how it applies to the law of the sea. So when we think about maritime security, how does the law work? How does it enact itself regionally and internationally? So the lecture that I gave this morning involved looking at how there are a number of vessels that are frequently operating in the South China Sea that are transporting sanctioned oil illegally, because not just because the Russia-Ukraine conflict, but even countries like Venezuela and Iran have had sanctions placed on their oil products for a very long time. That has not limited demand. If anything, it's created a secondary market where you have these very old vessels carrying thousands of barrels of crude oil and really engaging in a lot of not just sort of unsafe, but downright hazardous activities in the middle of the ocean, where you're transferring thousands of barrels of oil from one ship to another, and there's a high risk that something might go wrong. Something might explode, something might spill. There's a number of things that can happen. And because it's all happening in the black market or an illegal trade, this isn't being regulated or looked at. So it's unsafe, it's a threat to maritime security, but it's also a threat to environmental security, because all it takes is one fire or one collision, and all of a sudden it's not just two ships that are involved, but thousands of gallons of oil floating down the shore. So my aim was to say that this is not just a maritime security issue, but it's also an environmental security issue, and raising it in that way to see that even if you're not directly involved in this region, it might still affect you in a number of ways, whether you're someone who supplies seafarer labor frequently, whether you're someone who might operate a ship registry. There's a number of ways you might be implicated. So it's important to be aware of that.
I am actually very interested in the topic of maritime security, which was discussed this morning, and I work in that area as well in the Indo-Pacific. And to hear the insights about dark fleets was in fact something that I don't think a lot of people know about, and there is a deeper understanding required for it. And the insight shared by our colleagues at UNITAR, Young Leaders for the Indo-Pacific, it kind of increases your awareness of a deeper multi-sectoral engagement that is required. There are a lot of organizations that are already working on it, but they would not have the resources or the knowledge required, and the training that we get in these programs take us a long way. So maritime security indeed is something that affects multiple sectors, but it also requires people to know that deeper forces are working underway, like the dark fleets, that would go unaddressed. And I think this brings our attention back to and our perspective towards looking at things from the unit level. So yeah.
Today we learned a really intriguing topic. We learned about maritime security, which is a really hot spot, not just in our Southeast Asian region, but also many regions in the world. Today, during the maritime security, I learned a lot. First, it is about the outlook of the maritime security from different perspectives. I can see it from the international law, the UN clause. I can see it from different perspectives of countries inside and outside ASEAN. But what I believe to be most impressive for me is a fresh graduate who also focused my research in maritime security in ASEAN as well, is that learning from the people and understand that security derives from people-centric approach. It is to elevate the role of people. It is to elevate our contribution of the people. It is to make people become the epic centrum of growth. That is what I believe is the biggest lesson for today. It is to bring people for the sustainability and prosperity of our maritime zone.
Yeah, I learned so many things in this session, especially when we are talking about law, international law, and how we can play role model if we are being a state A to G, I guess, and that's very interesting. And I can see, oh, this is the very historical way to learn. But not only that, we also can immerse in there. We can also see the case study, and also we can learn from each other arguments and opinion. We are also growing up together and share each other opinion.